thinking today about something. Well, I thought about it yesterday, but it's something that came up about this time last year. And one of the hardest things for us to do sometimes is allow tower moments, allow phoenix moments. And it most often usually shows up when we stay at a job that we hate, or where we're not respected or treated well or paid well, or asked to do a lot more than what we agreed to in the beginning. And in our relationships with our family, especially our parents and kids, and then in our romantic relationships. And most often, what you'll find is that you can recognize the tower moments you need to allow to happen because you find yourself constantly trying to keep them from happening. Like you may be avoiding cutting ties with exes or people that you don't feel like they any longer have a special enough place in your life to give them regular attention, or maybe you wrapped yourself up in other things that you can't, but you don't want to let it go, either because there's still something there that you're not ready to look at, or because you're afraid of not having any backup plans. It could also be in relationships. It could be with a twin flame. It could be with a karmic. It could be with a soulmate. All sorts of things. Um, but that like things are not going well, and oftentimes when we're not in a place of healthy self-love and self-respect, we won't speak up for ourselves. We won't advocate for ourselves when we're being mistreated, when our boundaries are being violated, when we're being coerced or deceived or anything into doing stuff that we never agreed to. Even oftentimes, especially stuff that we specifically said no to already, and we keep quiet because we don't want the conflict, or we don't want to hurt their feelings, or because we don't know what to say, or most oftentimes it's because we have held on to it and bottled it up for so long that when it finally comes out, it's in moments of reaction, of intense anger, and then either we speak hurtful truths that were unnecessary to go into that depth, or we say things that we really didn't mean, but we were angry in that moment or feeling hurt and things like that, and we said far more than we meant to, and then what happens is we don't hold those boundaries. We have to apologize and say we didn't mean what we said, or we didn't mean it that way, or we meant it in the moment because we were angry, but not quite like that, and then we drop our boundaries, and usually not because like we're somehow not upset about what happened, but because we then fall into fear of abandonment, or we have had past experiences where holding our boundaries that we've been ridiculed or belittled or made to feel like an asshole for doing that. And so we drop them and we go through this cycle of like tower moments start to happen, and we're trying so hard to juggle everything, juggle everyone, make everyone happy, not speak our truths until we blow up like a big old volcano, and then feel bad because, the acidic lava just like burns everyone and everything. And even if somebody has hurt us, we often hurt them far worse than they hurt us in those little moments, because we didn't speak up in the moment when it was a problem, and we let little things build up into big things, and then we exploded, and then we feel bad and we drop our boundaries, we take them back, we let them back in, we go through the cycle again, and it's all to avoid the fall of the tower. And the funny thing about that is that when we don't allow towers to happen, when we don't allow ourselves, when we don't allow the messes to be made, when we don't allow the conflicts to happen, when we don't surrender to like separations, to clear patterns of unhealthy relationships, we just extend them. It doesn't, a lot of times our minds, which have been conditioned into codependence, will trick us into believing that if we say sorry and make amends, that the cycle won't end, and that that'll somehow be good for us. And so we just extend it. But, genuine problems will persist. They will continue. They will go in cycles until you allow tower moments to happen. Until you really allow the old cycle to no longer exist, really. And that requires the ability to release control. And it also, as with most things in this life, is dualistically, it requires you to control yourself. And at least in American society, we are often conditioned to learn to control others more than we control ourselves. And the only way that we control ourselves is to continue to try to uphold relationships and dynamics that aren't good for us and to push away those that are. But it's really in those moments that you release control and you allow towers to happen. It doesn't mean necessarily push the button on the breakup. It doesn't necessarily mean like cut off everybody who's like creating tower moments, but stop fighting them. Stop getting to this space where, oh my gosh, if you break up and you're single and you don't have anybody, that the world's going to end. No, it won't. The old world will end, like the old lifestyle, the old unhealthy stuff, that'll end. And it'll feel weird for a little while, but that's not bad. It's a new experience, and you don't know what's on the other side of that. Nobody knows everything. And I was gonna say, even spirit doesn't know everything, and because we are spirit, and we got together to create this human experience where we don't always know everything, and that's the only way that spirit can experience the experience of not knowing everything. That's why free will is such an amusement for spirit. In any case, I'm not really sure what wise words to impart on how to allow the tower moments to happen. I think partly because it's such a individual journey. Like we collectively do it, but for each person it's a little bit different. Like, what does it mean? Does it mean having firmer boundaries for a little while? Does it mean allowing a breakup? Does it mean going back to an ex? Does it mean starting with a new person? Does it mean quitting your job? Does it mean moving away? Does it mean moving closer? Does it mean just sitting by yourself for a while and no longer seeking validation or confirmation from other people? Does it mean not talking to them anymore? Does it mean speaking up more if you've not spoken your truth? Does it mean not being so afraid that if you don't have the perfect words that the other person might not understand because you can try again? Does it mean accepting all outcomes, including the ones that you want and some that maybe you didn't want in the past, but now you see that maybe they're a better path? I don't know. But the nice thing is when you allow the fall, when you're receptive to what comes after the storm, then you can start to get to the place where you recognize that. It's funny, now I'm remembering when I was having this thought, when I was driving, I was going to do this, I saw a hawk flying overhead. And it reminds me of having the higher perspective, the bird's eye view. And oftentimes we get into a place where we try to keep towers from happening because we're only stuck in this moment, as in like today, what happens today or what happens tomorrow or next week. We're not really thinking about the future of it. Like, yeah, sure, if you smooth things over this time, it might feel better now. It might feel better at the end of the week. But if you've had cycles that keep coming back to these tower moments, how are you going to feel when another one's happened? And you could have ended it before. How are you going to feel when you've invested months or years of your life in a situation that continues to come back to tower moments? And likewise, what's the potential that maybe, just maybe, you will be loved even more and in all the ways you actually deserve to be if you uphold those boundaries, if you pull back from situations where there isn't, like, people aren't being reciprocal in energy or investment or manners for that matter. Maybe it is that what you're not seeing because you're worried about this moment right now is that if you simply have better boundaries for yourself and you invest in the time, in the situations and the people who are mutually as good for you as you are for them, that maybe it will be even better. And maybe the people that you feel like your choice is either to keep doing the nonsense with them or just to cut them off and have no more faith in them, maybe actually the truth was that where you weren't having faith was in their ability to grow on their own and your ability to grow on your own. And when you allow the tower to fall, you can get to that place where you can see you don't have to rebuild the same tower. Like, you got all the pieces when it burns, when it hits the ground. You got all the same blocks and cornerstones and pieces. You get to decide which ones you're going to put back into it. Maybe you decide, instead of building a towering tower that's got a false foundation that's shaky and that any sort of mood quake is going to knock it over, maybe you build a small square, like it's more of kind of a hut, but you can call it a castle if you want. And it's more stable, and it's not going to be knocked over just because the wind blows. And it's not going to, I mean, sure, you might have a few pieces fall off when a mood quake happens, but it's not going to knock the whole thing over, you know? And that can create a lot of peace in your life, a lot of inner calm, and allow you to actually venture away from your structure a little bit, have a little adventure, find a few pieces that you want to add on, maybe enough that you can build a fence and have a little garden spot. I don't know. But you can only get that clarity when you stop prioritizing trying to prevent towers from happening, when you allow them to happen. And then look at the long run view. Think ahead, you know? Hello, Pandora, and hello, Affy. I'm actually just going to end this divine nugget, and I'll be back on soon. I'm torn about what order I want to do. I might do some more divine nuggets. I might do a weekly read, or I might jump right into live card reading, or I might mix that into the others. I don't know. Yes, mood quakes is one of the fun new words that have come up in my tribe. Anyways, I will see you guys in the next video.